Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 driver career mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we are headed to the Brazilian GP. 3 GPs remain on the season in this close title fight between myself, Daniel Ricciardo, as well as Lando Norris. Just a few points separate the three of us here, coming off of our third win on the season last episode in the last lap duel against Ricciardo in the Mexican GP. So 3 wins on the season hopefully becomes 4 today, but Brazil I haven't had the most success at in the past year. We've had some nice runs here. I remember in Aston Martin, I think a few seasons back, we had one beautiful recovery drive here to get a top 10 finish, but I'm never really the greatest when it comes to Brazil here in Sao Paulo, so hopefully we can change that today. But I didn't show any of the practice because I was recording on the wrong settings for practice and the frame rate was terrible, so we jumped straight through into qualifying here in Brazil. This was Q1, and you know, my first laps without the braking line here in Brazil were directly in practice, so it was quick for me to try and learn the track, or relearn the track here without the braking line, but I felt like I settled in pretty decently. I barely scraped my way through though into Q2, and then we got Q2 underway here now. And Sector 1, I was setting the fastest times. You can see I was purple Sector 1. Sector 2 was where I was losing everything, and you know what? I noticed the difference was I was comfortable in Sector 1. I really wasn't comfortable yet here in Sector 2. I was definitely having a tough time getting a feel for the car through this second sector on the course, but Sector 3 was exactly like Sector 1. I was actually purpling Sector 3, so obviously Sector 3 not very complicated, it's one corner, so we would come through to cross the line with a purple Sector 1, not quite a purple Sector 3 in Q2, but we only won P13, so we had to go make another attempt here to make it into Q3, which was suddenly turning into a bit of a disastrous qualifying effort. I went a tenth slower. We miss Q3 here in Brazil, and you know, our car is down to 4th on the R&D, but that's not much of an excuse because Ricciardo goes to P1 and we still stay P13. We now have some work to do. Let's head to the grid.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit, and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. And that gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event?
Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. The tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to the pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, and Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Sainz, Lewis Hamilton and Russell, Vettel, Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty, Giovinazzi and the Golden Boy, Norris, Ocon, Callum Ilott and Joe, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Lance Stroll and Daniel Ricciardo, Leclerc and Christian Lundgaard. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Well then, after some grid penalties, Daniel Ricciardo is starting behind us, and you know what, we're right here with Lando Norris as well. So suddenly, out of the top 3 drivers going for the championship, we qualified 13th, move up to 10th, and now we're the best starting position from any of the top 3 going for that title here on the grid. But this could be a day where we see a potential surprise winner on the season here in the Brazilian GP, because it's going to be tough for myself, Norris, and Ricciardo to work our way up to the front without some form of safety car maybe in the middle point. of the race here as we were ready to go lights out. It's going to be 5 red lights, and it's going to be lights out, and the 2 AlphaTauris of Gasly and Tsunoda lead the way down into turn 1, and you can see automatically or immediately Gasly going to try and cover off his teammate of Yuki Tsunoda down into turn 1, and it's a clean start for the 2 AlphaTauris, now 2 wide there, about 4 rows deep here now as we come through, settling in immediately. And obviously you can imagine it wasn't a great start for me, unfortunately, here in Brazil. Lost about a spot or 2 here in these opening corners, but overall it wasn't too bad. I did lose a spot though to Lando Norris, which was not what I wanted to see, so we had to settle in behind Lando here, and Ricciardo's still quite a few spots behind us at this point. You see Norris there getting the elbows that he's going to go past the Alpine, and I'm ready to attack here as well. I'm going to go up the inside and try to take a position away. I knew I had to be on it as quick as I could to stick with Norris. At least we were comfortably ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who's going to have to work his way through traffic to even get to us. So if I could just stick with Lando, maybe have a chance to overtake him. Of course, we got to take it here as you see everybody settling in here. Not much issues. A relatively clean start here to the Brazilian GP in these sunny and dry conditions here. A beautiful day here in Sao Paulo. Actually, it is now as we come through to complete this opening lap now. But Pierre Gasly, as well as his AlphaTauri teammate of Yuki Tsunoda, out in front currently. I remember last season, Yuki Tsunoda picked up his first GP win at this very race right here in Brazil. Now, as you see, Norris making the attack on the outside of Giovinazzi, now on the preferred lane here to turn 2, but they kind of stall each other out here for a brief moment, and they would continue side by side all the way down the straightaway into the next left-hander here, as I didn't want to force it 3 wide. It's only lap 2. I'm not going to make a silly mistake or a silly move that results in a silly mistake that I shouldn't have made in the first place. So you can see right there, though, Giovinazzi kind of gets run out of room by Norris, and I attack on that opportunity right now, wheel to wheel with Giovinazzi in our former Aston Martin car now, as we nearly make some contact there, but we move up now into 10th place again. So we're back to where we started. Actually, Giovinazzi continues the fight here around the left-hand side, but now we finally get clear and move up into that 10th position as we try to run down Lando Norris. And actually, there was a nice gap between Lando and myself here, but on lap 4, we were starting to close that gap just a little bit, because now he was into a bit of traffic, and they were all battling it out and whatnot. So it was just a matter of another lap or so until I would get there, and that's exactly what happens on lap 5. Within 5/10 of a second now of Lando Norris and Sebastian Vettel as well. And Lewis Hamilton found himself in a nice little scrap here with his IRL teammate of George Russell there, and Russell's going to come out on top, and that brings all of us into the mix right here. Sebastian Vettel, Lando Norris, myself. Here we go down this run straightaway here, and they're going to go 3 wide and maybe even 4 wide if Norris decides he's going to send one up the inside, and Russell backs out. It's still 3 wide though. Norris, who's trying to get ahead of the championship battle, is going to make an aggressive move, and it works to perfection. He goes to the lead. Here I am now down this next straightaway, going 3 wide with the DRS, and we're going to get past Hamilton. We're going to get past Russell. Surprisingly, no corner cutting warning there, as I certainly abused track limits a little bit. And then we put the fight next to Sebastian Vettel up the inside of him down into turn 1 at lap 9. We make the pass up into P number 7 behind Norris in P6. Ricciardo was gaining track position, but he was still behind us. So that was the important thing. But it's key to mention here, I forgot to show it, but Jeff offered us a strategy change, and everybody's going to be going onto the hard compound tire here within the next couple laps, but I'm staying out to about lap 17, and I'm going to put on the medium compound tire to see if we can maybe find a way to gain some extra pace and track position later in this race. Ricciardo comes in, Norris stays out an extra lap, but he would come in at the conclusion of this 14th lap, and we would move into the front position. So we take the lead of the Brazilian GP. Obviously, when we pit, we're going to be probably another P6, P7 situation here, and we would come in at the end of lap 17, so quite a few laps extra that we've run, but it allows us to put on that medium compound tire compared to everybody else that's on that hard compound tire. So in the first half of this run, we're probably going to have some nice speed here in this McLaren Vodafone. Like I said though, something that is important to note is in the R&D, McLaren has fallen down to 4th place in the R&D. Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, they're all ahead of us. So we don't necessarily have the fastest car anymore. Obviously still good enough to compete for this championship late in the season against Red Bull, but that's something to keep in mind as well here now. But on this medium compound tire, lap 21 of 36 so far, you know, a calm GP other than some wild 3 wide moments there about 10 laps ago or so. But here we are now on lap 21 trying to close the gap to Lando Norris, and with this medium compound tire advantage, we would eventually get these tires kind of into the optimal temperature, start to gain on Lando there in that Red Bull, and we were quickly getting ready to go for an attack on 5th place. And you can see Daniel Ricciardo now 9.3 seconds back, but up into 7th place here. Now Ricciardo looking at, I think, 4 or 5 GPs in a row without a race victory, which would be crazy for him, as there's a yellow flag up ahead, and it's going to be Valtteri Bottas there, who's had some type of mechanical failure. He's going to pull off to the side of the track here on the exit of the corner as myself and Norris go by. He is out of the GP. Up into 5th place we go behind Lando, and we're going to try and make a move at Lando right there, but it's not going to quite work out there, and actually kind of scared him right there. It made a bit of an overcorrect, but I stayed put in behind Lando for the time being. Didn't want to take a side-by-side. While that was happening, though, Max Verstappen was fighting Pierre Gasly for the lead of this GP and made a little bit of contact with Gasly, and then here comes Carlos Sainz looking still for his first ever GP win in Formula 1 into the mix, and he would go up the inside. It would actually be 3 wide for the lead here into the next left-hander, but Verstappen, gets contact again with Gasly and damages the right front wing plate, and that would bring myself and Norris by the end of that lap right to the back of Verstappen there, as I nearly go into the grass. I did go on the grass there, trying to avoid running into the back of Norris. Verstappen's into the pits, and here we are side by side with Norris now down into turn 1, using Verstappen kind of as a pick there to try and overtake Norris now as we continue side by side here now through the next left-hander. Though it's going to be Norris getting out in front, but we had that slipstream here. We're going to try and maybe make a lunge at him here into this left-hander, and here we go down into turn 4. Norris goes a little deep. We kind of do the little switchback, and he overcorrects again, kind of like another move where it looked like he almost got scared from what I was doing, and we take the lead of the GP, but this battle wasn't over yet. Come to 10 laps to go. Here comes Lando Norris again up the inside down into turn 1. Gasly as well as Sainz running away with P1 and P2, but the fact that we're even battling for a podium, that was pretty impressive of a comeback here with the way this GP has gone very clean so far. Ricciardo now only 5.9 seconds back with myself and Norris scrapping it out, and it wasn't over. Once again into turn 4, same type of move that I made before, a switchback opportunity, and then he does that again, and we take the spot again. So back up into P3 here with less than 10 laps to go at this point here in the Brazilian GP. Battling hard because we know that these points that we're battling for could be big for this championship battle. There's only going to be 2 races left in this season, but here we go through to lap 31, the run down to turn 4 again. Norris with the DRS here, and I just didn't quite have enough for him at this point. The medium compound tire definitely starting to fade compared to the hard compound tire in these closing laps, and unfortunately Norris completes that pass, and you can see at this point I just struggled to keep pace with him on the very same lap. I knew that it was probably game over with me trying to beat Lando in this race, but I was just hoping we could stay within the DRS, and we would stay within DRS range of Lando Norris here in these closing laps. Now 3 laps to go. Just unfortunately I just didn't quite have enough. I couldn't keep the car close enough to where when I got DRS I couldn't close up and then make an opportunity or make a move on him. So you can see the gap right here between us now on the final lap of the Brazilian GP. Ricciardo recovers to 5th. We recovered to 4th. Norris recovers to P3 so far here. Now is Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz. They're working their way through lap traffic on this final lap, but it looks like it's going to be Pierre Gasly hanging on to the race of victory here now as we come through the second sector for the final time in Brazil. What a race it was for us to recover to this finishing position, but the same can be said for Lando Norris as well as Daniel Ricciardo, as this is for sure going to keep it close in this championship battle with 2 GPs remaining in Saudi Arabia as well as Abu Dhabi. But it's going to be Pierre Gasly as well as Carlos Sainz who are coming through the final few sweeping left-handers down this front straightaway. Gasly wins over Carlos Sainz. Norris going to get P3. We're going to come through to cross the line for a respectable 4th place effort. Not quite a podium, and I don't think we're going to be leading the championship, as I believe that's about to head in the direction of Lando Norris, who still has not won a race this season, but has been so consistent that his chances of a championship remain alive. Let's head to the podium as Ricciardo wins Driver of the Day.
AlphaTauri will no doubt be celebrating tonight. What a great win! Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Our winners are heading to the podium right now. AlphaTauri have done an exceptional job when it comes to forging new talent and seeing them take home the victory. Today is a huge positive for the future of the sport.
There you saw the podium celebrations, and there you see the finishing order on your screen. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, just 2 GPs remaining in his Formula 1 career. Can he get a win at least in his final season? Going to be tough at this point here as he's down there currently in 8th in the standings. There you see the standings. So we lose the championship lead there alongside Daniel Ricciardo as Lando Norris is going to be out on top. And we have a 50-point advantage over Red Bull going into the final 2 remaining races in the Constructors battle. So it could get close with Red Bull, but really depends what happens here in Saudi Arabia to set up the tone for Abu Dhabi. But it's going to be interesting to see. We cannot, of course, have a mechanical failure before the season is over. We have to have these next 2 races without some form of mechanical failure, and we haven't had one since my home race in Canada. So we had a couple in the first half of the season, none in the last half. So we'll go into the next episode and hopefully fight for a win in Saudi Arabia. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. It's going to come down to the wire between myself, Ricciardo, and Norris for sure at this point. But that does it for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one with Saudi Arabia. 2 races remain in the season. Let's go get this World Drivers' Championship. Have a great day, everybody.